Welcome to the bold analysis. Tinga Wood Nyalego. That is the other name for Raila Odinga. Tomorrow is going to face 55 African presidents for a decisive vote. We really sympathize for Mzee. This is a man that have seen it all. This is a man that have tried all he could do within our borders. But we agreed that when someone leaves this country at that stage, we need our support. He needs our support. In this podcast, I have my specific reasons, and one which is very clear. I want Raila Odinga to win. I am not so sure about what he can deliver at that space. I may not be so interested. But I am so sure that if he exits the political space, the Kenyan political space, then so many things are going to change in 2027, contrary to what the political elites are thinking. Yeah, there are some areas that people have elected baggage and a lot of garbage simply because of Tingbada Malo, which means endorse me. Let me not belabor that. Musalia Mudavadi is urging African Union members to wrap up the elections, warning against sending a message of being weak, confused, and indecisive at this critical juncture. And Nairobi is very jittery about a possible postponement or fear of losing, or just a diplomatic paranoia. Are they just paranoid of that election? Musalia Mudavadi raised that question. Today, 16 countries, 16 countries of SADC wrote to their members to support the Madagascar candidate under the SADC, contrary to reports that they were supposed to support Raila Odinga. And an official letter that has been written to those countries has been circulated to the ambassadors there. And it is really, and of course, the countries still maintain their individual interest in voting, but regional solidarity is also put to test during such elections. Which are these countries? Raila Odinga visited almost all these 16 countries in the southern part of the continent. And this last-minute letter has been written to the countries including Angola, Botswana, Comoros, the Democratic Republic of Congo, and I will explain to you why Democratic Republic of Congo is here, Eswatini, Lesotho, Madagascar. Other countries under the same bloc includes Malawi, Mauritius, Mozambique, Namibia, Seychelles, South Africa, the United Republic of Tanzania. This is not the Tanzania, this is the Tanganyika, Zimbabwe, and Namibia. Those 16 countries have been instructed to vote for Madagascar candidate known by the name. He has a very long name here. I really want to get it right. Foreign Affairs Minister from Madagascar, Richard Randria Mandrato. Richard Mandria Mandrato. He's not been campaigning so much compared to Raila Odinga and the Djibouti candidate. In fact, amongst all these candidates, the only candidate that over-campaigned is Raila Odinga. That one give to him. If it was about being given resources to traverse the continent, I think Wada Juma was given all the resources to traverse the continent. So I don't know whether now the SADC will opt to vote for a candidate that did not campaign in several of those countries. They never even visited some of those countries. But it is really understood that SADC will hold together. So the questions that I would want to answer in respect to this letter, so that you find out, I know people might ask, why is DRC there? Why is DRC part of the SADC? And I want to explain to you this. While Madagascar, Kenya, and Djibouti all form under the African Union's Eastern region, they belong to different regional blocs. Now, according to the African Union, the continent is divided into West Africa, North Africa, Central Africa, Southern Africa, and Eastern Africa. Now, in Eastern Africa, we have different blocks, different regional blocks. Like in Eastern Africa, there is the East Africa. The East Africa Cooperation. That is where Kenya, Tanzania, Uganda falls, and Rwanda are members, and Sudan, and I think also Somalia joined lately, and DRC, they also joined late last year. But and Burundi. But remember, DRC and Burundi, and please get this distinction. DRC and Burundi, geographically, they are part of the Central Africa. But on aligning, they're aligned towards East Africa. They're members of the East African Bloc. East Africa Bloc. But at the same time, they're also members of SADC. So that is why I want to give you a very interesting story. Remember the story about DRC? When Ruto and the team deployed the Eastern Africa delegation, the delegation from Kenya to Goma, immediately they were kicked out. SADC dispatched their team to Goma. And that's why recently, when there was this M23 raid in DR Congo, 11 soldiers from South Africa were killed in DR Congo. So the reason why DR Congo was able to get reinforcement from SADC after kicking out the East Africa team is because it's actually member of that economic bloc. Even though geographically, according to AU, geographically, DRC is not part of the Eastern Africa. And in fact, in this election, DRC, Congo, and Burundi cannot present a candidate because the candidate, the position was exclusively set aside for the Eastern Africa. But DR Congo and Burundi are not members of Eastern Africa. According to you, they are members of Central. And so when Raila, and I remember before Raila flew to Addis Ababa, he was in Bujumbura. I was asking why. So my good researcher told me the reason why Raila went there is that Bujumbura is not necessarily tied to the Eastern Africa. And it can even change its mind. Now, that one is geographically. Now, let's ask about the letter of SADC. Some are questioning why SADC is backing Madagascar when the AUC chair is reserved for the Eastern Africa. Madagascar is part of the Eastern Africa. So just like East African Cooperation is backing Raila Odinga, I don't know that they're 5 or 6, Kenya, Tanzania, Uganda, South Sudan, and Somalia, and Rwanda, and Burundi, and DR Congo, almost 8. Those 8 countries are supposed to back Raila, but they have not done a letter, just like what the SADC has done. And now that is a game changer. So, Madagascar is part of SADC. Kenya belongs to both IGAD and EAC, while Djibouti is only a member of IGAD. I want you to get this. Madagascar is a member of SADC. That's Southern Africa Development Corporation, something. I think it's something like that. Then Kenya is a member of IGAD. That is an economic bloc, and at the same time a member of the EAC. So Kenya can benefit from both. Hakuna mali nasema huwezi kuwa member ya IGAD na kuwa member ya EAC. EAC. It is essential to note that AU is done by individual member states and not regional blocks, however. While a region, not an original block, can be given a candidature, it is also a term for IGAD. No, it is regions, geographical partitioning of the continent. And sometimes I agree with what Nani says, what Lumumba says, how the continent was divided. It was in its sense to loosen its bargaining power. When we divide the continent into those geographical blocks, we have disintegrated interests, but it is part of the tool that was used to control the continent. So SADC's statement urging its members to support Madagascar reflects a strong effort to galvanize unity within the bloc, a characteristic that SADC is well known for in AU politics. I listened to and I want to play that clip. I listened to PL Lumumba. I'll play it in my next video. PL Lumumba said that Raila campaigned in a manner that is not how those campaigns are normally done. I don't know how they are normally done. I don't know how different they are done. But he says Raila campaigned in a manner that is not how those campaigns are usually done. I don't know what he did. I don't know what he did wrong or what he did right. So the 16-member SADC bloc has urged its members in a last-minute diplomatic push to back Madagascar's candidate for AUC top seat, highlighting regional unity. Still, each member retains the right to vote based on national interest. Remember, the voting is by secret ballot. So while this letter is strong to try to push unity, the question I would want to ask at this point, William Ruto is the current chairperson of African Union of East African Cooperation. That is normally a rotating position. I should have thought that at this point, the East Africa community should have also done the same in solidarity with Raila Odinga's bid. I may be overthinking. It may not be within the purview of the president. But again, the regional blocs are consolidating votes. So as our country Kenya, we should not sit back and complain like the Musalia Mudavadi is complaining. We should be able also to push our numbers. I'm telling you, on this day, we have quite a lot. The Eastern Africa has always been the most fractured region in the AU politics, rarely agreeing on anything, let alone even backing a single candidate. It is deeply rooted in mistrust and fierce competition among member states, and this is the reality. So with the current divide on the DRC, M23 invasion in DRC, this cracks could re-emerge and haunt those elections. Wow. What are some of the possible outcomes? I know someone will want to hear this. Kevin, you've said it. 16 have said they may not support Raila. What are some of the possible outcomes? If these regional blocs unite behind a candidate, then Kenya, we are disadvantaged since it might not be no candidate will be able to get the 33 votes threshold needed to be declared the AUC chair. Yes. 16, remember 49 are going to vote. If 16 from SADC votes and their candidate loses, probably they support that candidate, then that means probably in the first round, when these blocks vote in the first round, no one can be able to get that. If these regional blocks hold, no one can be able to get the 33 votes. Now, if that fails, then we go to the second round, where we take top two. So far, according to the polls, it's only been showing that the candidate from the Southern Africa comes distance third, with Raila and the Djibouti candidate on a two-horse race. So, and then the candidate is not supported, they can even abstain from that vote. And when they abstain, the number might become a problem. And that is how that election can be postponed or rather be suspended. President William Ruto's diplomatic team must scale up their lobbying. The country is anxious. Tumesha shona suti. Oh, no. The suit that we were supposed to use personally. I have one that I was supposed to use. If he was to win, if he could win in that August 2022, if he was to be declared a president in 2022, we are going to use that one. The expectation, the president and the team, Raila Odinga has been trying to manage his supporters saying, if I win, it is fine. If I lose, it is fine. But the president and his team have been selling hope hawking to the members of the public that Raila is going to win it. And the stakes, the local politics stake in that election is higher than the merit that is needed for Raila Odinga to even to serve in that position. But the political equation locally that vote is supposed to solve is huge than even what Raila is supposed to deliver in that seat. So they have no option. The secret, there are two things that can help Odinga get it. With the secret ballot, it can occasion several betrayals. And if we bribe, we take our bad manners there of rigging. By bribing, we can. Hey, we can bribe one. Of rigging at the ballot, probably Odinga can get his way. There is also a possibility that Raila winning chance in AU are deep, but forces could be pushing for suspension of that election. If it is suspended, the candidate who was vice chair takes over the chairman's position, the chairperson position. The person who is going to win as the vice chair will take over as the chairperson position in an acting capacity until another election is called. And if it is suspended, I'm not so sure Odinga will get back. Will go back there to vie. We have a long way. Just a day. In the next 48 hours, or let's say like 72 hours, we'll be having the final answer as to has Raila gotten it or not. Keep it here.